50-year dream nearing the finish line. The impact of the new I-69 in Indiana, what it means for travel, transportation, and the state's economy. Plus,
it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and the competition is fierce. If we're not in the room, someone else is.
Governor Holcomb on the importance of Indiana having a seat at the table, pushing the state's economy forward on the international stage. And
Indiana's business news leader. This is IBJ Media's Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick, presented by Elevate Ventures, Indiana University, and LIUNA.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Mary Rachel Redmond in for Gary Dick. Two big transportation stories unfolding in Indiana this week. We begin right here. A game changer for Indiana's economy. The construction of I-69 from Evansville to Indianapolis nearing the finish line. America's newest interstate has been 50 years in the making. Plans set in motion back in the 70s to build a highway linking the Pocket City to the Circle City. And now, after 16 years and more than 140 miles of detours, road closures, and orange cones, I-69 will soon be open for business, with construction wrapping up this month. The project not only dramatically cuts down on travel time, it's also going to fuel billions of dollars in economic impact.
Interstate 69 is a huge game changer for Indianapolis. Not only does it finish what was started as an international trade route between Canada and Mexico, but it also will make possible an economic development corridor between Indianapolis and Bloomington.
Estimates for potential growth along the new I-69 corridor, more than $4 billion over the next 20 years.
Where interstates go, so does economic development. So does growth in incomes. So does more vibrant communities. So, especially being the Circle City, where we're known for transportation and infrastructure, the connection of one more interstate node to our circle, I-465, does nothing but fuel great energy in our economy here in Indianapolis, but also in the state.
And I-69, much more than just bricks and mortar. It's also ripe to blossom into Indiana's newest innovation and tech corridor.
What you're seeing along I-65, like in Lebanon, like in other parts of the drive between West Lafayette and Indianapolis, the type of development that you've seen in Boone County, that's going to sprout out along I-69. And that will, there'll be debate about where factories can go and what needs to happen to land use. But interstates are magnets for economic development. Interstates are magnets for corporate investment. Corporate investment means better jobs, lower unemployment, and it can help bring prosperity to our rural counties that are between Indianapolis and Bloomington, just like we see prosperity coming to the counties between West Lafayette and Indianapolis.
I-69 also extending its reach in southwest Indiana. Construction continuing on the $1.4 billion I-69 Ohio River Crossing project linking Evansville with Henderson, Kentucky. Both states have applied for federal funding for the project with hopes of getting it finished sooner. Just northeast of Evansville, progress to move the Mid-States Corridor project forward. INDOT giving approval for the Tier 2 study of the plan, which is designed to connect I-69 with I-64 through Spencer, Martin, and Du Bois counties. And in northern Indiana, the 155-mile stretch of US 30 between Fort Wayne and Valparaiso, the focus of potential redevelopment. Business leaders in the region pushing to upgrade US 30 to a freeway. Well, I'm sure most of you have either seen or used a wireless charging pad like the one I have here to juice up the battery on your phone. But what if I told you Purdue University is working on a highway right now that can charge electric vehicles the same way this pad charges a smartphone? Take a look. Purdue engineers teaming up with INDOT to build the first roadway in the country with coils in the pavement that charge electric vehicles as they drive. Purdue researchers have designed a system with dedicated lanes that puts these coils underneath just plain concrete pavement, and from there it sends power to the underside of a vehicle. Construction is underway right now on a quarter-mile test bed on Highway 231 in West Lafayette. where teams of Purdue researchers are testing their patent-pending highway design.
This is a one of a kind in the world that we're doing here because it's basically designed to be able to charge fully loaded semi-tractor trailers as they travel down the road at 65 miles an hour, and that has never been done. Why are we doing that? Well, so two of the big barriers to electric vehicle adoption, at least for the public, are range anxiety. Oh my gosh, where am I going to charge the battery on this car? And the second thing is cost, and a lot of that cost in electric vehicles is driven by the size of the battery packs that they have to have in order to get you that 250, 300 mile range. This system, you'd be able to drive your small vehicle down it, and it would be able to charge the battery as you drive over the pavement at speed. So the speed limit here is only 55 miles an hour, but you could go even faster and it would charge the battery. What that allows us to do then is it means that now there's no range anxiety. You don't have to worry about where you recharge. The road's doing it for you as you drive. Secondly, now you can have a smaller battery pack in your car. That's going to reduce the weight of electric vehicles. So it's also going to reduce the cost of electric vehicles. So you can see how it takes two of those high hurdles for electric vehicle adoption, kind of takes them out of play.
If all goes well, the hope is to electrify a section of Indiana Interstate within the next 5 years. Indiana infrastructure, manufacturing, and the new economy making headlines both here in the state and abroad. Governor Eric Holcomb sizes up the potential payoff after his recent trade mission to Singapore, and a big name in government back in his home state touring the evolution of EV in Indiana when we come back. U.S. Transportation Secretary and former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg in the Midwest this week, touring Great Lakes ports in Wisconsin and Michigan, a big part of the $36 billion impact of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system. The Upper Peninsula ports getting a big chunk of the federal government's $17 billion infrastructure bill. And Buttigieg also made a stop in his home state of Indiana, in Kokomo, which is earning a reputation as one of the state's largest clean energy hubs. Buttigieg toured the Stellantis facility where the company is investing more than $5.5 billion to build 2 electric vehicle manufacturing plants. The project expected to create nearly 3,000 new jobs. Well, attracting manufacturing, defense, and clean energy jobs to Indiana, the main goal of Governor Eric Holcomb's latest overseas trade mission. The governor and a state delegation just back from a trip to Singapore and Australia. And he shared with us why doing business with Singapore is so important.
The role that the semiconductor has in our destinies, literally, whether it's our health or our mobility or energy or fill in the blank, Singapore is a leader. And I could see us developing very close relations with Singapore, and we've been meeting with them, as I mentioned, for a while now. But this is getting real, and it's exciting to think about as we continue to cultivate that semiconductor, that microelectronics ecosystem, whether it be in the Hardtech corridor, whether it be scattered somewhere else around the state of Indiana at one of our university hubs or near one. This will be a strategic partnership for Indiana to be working alongside Singapore.
What does success look like, if you could be specific?
Sure. Well, I mean, it sounds, again, basic, but first you have to be in the room and develop a trusted, earned relationship. Folks have a world of options to invest. And when they invest hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, they do it with a forever relationship in mind, not a in and out, not a take and go. These require a lot of capital to be deployed and more talent to coalesce around an endeavor like the deals that we're talking about. And so developing a relationship, whether it be when I go to Select USA in Washington, D.C. every year, we're having these conversations that lead on to these trips, or they to Indiana. So this isn't our first date. We're not out chasing low-wage jobs. We're out chasing high-demand, high-wage careers that are going to potentially improve quality of lives and make the world turn.
The governor says a few more overseas trade trips are in the cards before he leaves office before the end of the year. Well, still ahead, Indiana's annual signature celebration. The Indiana State Fair, the annual salute to Hoosier ag and farming, food and culture, plus the Wabash Valley connection to the way you see the state fair. It's that time of year again when people from all corners of Indiana come together to celebrate their Hoosier heritage. The 6th oldest state fair in the country. The Indiana State Fair now underway in Indianapolis. This is where Hoosier agriculture exhibits, music and food like pickled pizza all intersect. The fair is a big revenue generator for Indiana, driving nearly $200 million into the economy. And that number could go up since the fair is staying open an extra day during the week this year, only closed on Mondays, open for business the rest of the week. The Indiana State Fair runs through August 18th. T-shirts, magnets, stuffed animals. This Hoosier company has everything you need to commemorate this year's state fair. It's called the United State of Indiana, and it supplies products for the State Fair gift shop. This year, USI taking a fine art focus, giving magnets, stickers, and more a State Fair twist.
We're a vendor ourselves at the fair for many years before we ever started doing the gift shop. So it's a world we know really well, and it lets us make stuff that's interesting. You know, it does not, I don't think our gift shop feels like a typical gift shop because it is very inspired by our weirdness and our creativity and our experience.
Each t-shirt is screen printed at USI's print shop in Terre Haute. You can find the gift shop in the Ag Court building as well as the Hoosier Lottery Grandstand. Tabletop gaming's ultimate play taking place this weekend in Indianapolis. This here, Gen Con. Nearly 80,000 gamers in Indianapolis this weekend for the city's largest convention. 4 days of gaming adding up to a $75 million shot in the arm for Central Indiana restaurants, hotels, and local businesses. Gen Con is the biggest tabletop gaming convention in the U.S.
Here's what's making news around Indiana. Brought to you by the Indiana Association of Realtors. Indiana's 21,000 realtors. The neighbors you know, the experts you can count on.
We begin this week in South Bend, where there's a new push to bring passenger rail service back to a historic building. The city of South Bend planning to buy Union Station, which has been privately held for more than 40 years. City leaders in talks with Amtrak about moving its current station, located about 6 miles west of Union Station, back to the historic building. Union Station dates back nearly 100 years, with Amtrak stopped passenger service there in the 70s. The Indiana Pacers are receiving national recognition. The NBA giving the team the Changemaker of the Year award for their partnership with Fishers-based Spoke Note. Spoke Note put the NBA's first scannable code patch on a jersey. The NBA says that code set a new standard for innovation in sports. New hope for a piece of Hoosier history in southwest Indiana. The New Harmony Bridge in Posey County getting a $150,000 federal grant to move a step closer to restoring the structure, which has been closed for 14 years due to lack of funding for inspections and repairs. The New Harmony Bridge links New Harmony, Indiana over the Wabash to eastern Illinois. And 5 Indiana-based companies are being recognized for being some of the best places to work for disability inclusion. Old National Bank, Corteva AgriScience, Eli Lilly, and Elevance Health received the highest possible score. Simon Property Group also making the list.
Time now for our Eye on Education, brought to you by PNC Bank.
Purdue keeping it all in the family, so to speak, when it comes to student housing. A real estate company founded by a Purdue alum is buying 2 student housing complexes near the campus. West Lafayette-based Monzer, owned by Purdue grad Mark Monzer, acquiring the Grant Street Station and South Street Station for $46 million. And it's not the company's first rodeo when it comes to student housing. Monzer has invested more than $250 million in the college housing market just in the last year. And Notre Dame breaking ground on a new women's residence hall on the south side of campus. The project has been funded in large part by Notre Dame alum Thomas Grosjean in honor of his wife Terry. Grosjean Hall is set to open in fall 2026. And coming up, Lilly's new marketing campaign on the big stage at the Olympics. We'll have details. And a Fort Wayne hospital using a new device designed to make drawing blood easier for patients. A look at how it works coming up. Indiana athletes showing up big time at the Olympic Games in Paris. More than 20 athletes representing Indiana as part of Team USA. In fact, 6 swimmers punched their ticket to Paris right here in the capital city inside Lucas Oil Stadium in June. And several of those swimmers, including Carmel's Drew Kibler, Chesterton's Blake Pironi, and Notre Dame's Chris Giuliani, all brought home silver medals. And the U.S. women's basketball team taking a little bit of Indiana with them to Paris. Indy-based leather good maker Howell & Hyde made personalized passport wallets for Team USA players and staff. Howell & Hyde also made bags for USA softball players at the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo. If you've been watching the Olympics, then you've certainly noticed Eli Lilly's big marketing campaign.
You know, you only get one.
That's not the only thing fueling potential growth at Lilly this week. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta is here with the story. Kylie.
That's right, Mary Rachel. Lilly is aggressively moving forward with a drug that can modestly slow down the signs of Alzheimer's. Lilly, a major pharmaceutical player in the Alzheimer's space, with the FDA recently approving the company's new drug, Kisunla, to treat adults with early symptoms of the disease. Lilly now watching closely new research on blood testing for Alzheimer's by primary care doctors, which has shown to be effective, although there are questions over which blood tests work best. A Fort Wayne-based healthcare system is using a new device designed to reduce the number of needle sticks for patients who need blood drawn. Parkview Health is the first in the state to use the PIVO device. It allows nurses to draw blood from a patient's IV at the patient's bedside. Nurses say using PIVO is more efficient and easier on patients.
I work in the OR all the time, and there are emergent cases where we need lab right now, and they're not OR ready. So having a nurse being able to draw those labs right now, we can get them sent to lab, decreasing any delays, and then also it can improve our patient outcomes.
Parkview is using the device in 2 of its facilities right now for patients who are pregnant or postpartum. They hope to expand its use to pediatric patients next.
That's great news. You know, going back to the Alzheimer's drug, there's really not much out there. So how big is this new drug potentially?
This is really big progress. Last year, the first drug came on the market. That was Leqembi. That's made by Biogen. This is the second Alzheimer's drug on the market. Now, they both work the same way. They both attack that amyloid plaque in the brain, which is the hallmark sign of Alzheimer's. But what's different about Kisunla, this Lilly drug, is that after 18 months, 70% of the patients in the study were able to stop taking the drug because they were showing such good progress. So that's wonderful news for patients. It's also realistically, that's great for costs because these drugs are expensive.
Yes, great progress, great news. Thank you,
Right.
Kylie. Well, it's a military badge of honor guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier in the nation's capital. Indiana's Bill Hanna is one of the select few who have.
Right, shoulder.
You spend about 9 months in training there to receive your Tomb Guard identification badge, which is now, I think, the least given out award in the U.S. Army. My number is 441. I think there's about 770, somewhere maybe a little bit more than that right now, that have ever been there.
Move.
It's high pressure. The uniform standards there exceed any unit in the military anywhere.
It's always been about service for Bill Hanna, his military duties playing a big role to him becoming a leader in transforming the economy in Northwest Indiana. Bill Hanna, our guest on the latest edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. You can check it out at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Well, that's all we have time for this edition of Inside Indiana Business. We leave you this week on a couple of IBJ Media notes. First, IBJ's annual commercial real estate power breakfast coming up later in August. It's a discussion about Central Indiana's continued growth and what it will take to continue to attract new businesses to Indiana. RSVP by August 20th at ibj.com/events.